Hello out there to all you city gardeners. I wanted to make another video here to give you some inspiration for gardening in the city and also some methods to how I pull things off on my balcony, growing food for me and my family. You can definitely grow tomatoes on your balcony. You want to start them early. This is the first week of May 7th, I believe. And I just put my tomatoes in yesterday. I live in zone 6B, and you want to plant them in these 5-gallon buckets because you can put a lot of soil and compost in there, and I compost a lot, so plants generally do pretty well in this soil. And around them you can see I have planted lettuce, and lettuce grows great underneath the tomatoes. You want to start the lettuce before the tomatoes. And to plant lettuce, you just take the lettuce seeds, sprinkle them over your soil, and then just put a light cover of soil on top of it and keep them moist, and they'll definitely sprout. I have a volunteer tomato here from last year that I'm going to let grow in this bucket. Also, marigolds are good to plant around your garden. If you can see, I have a little marigold there. Marigolds around this tomato. All the tomatoes have at least one marigold in there, and that's going to attract beneficial insects to your garden. You want marigolds. I've read that a lot of places, so I definitely put marigolds everywhere. I found volunteers from last year, so it wasn't hard to move them around the garden. Once you plant your tomatoes, you're going to be putting them in the middle around this lettuce. You can just take the lettuce out and transplant it around. You see, I took these out from my other buckets where I planted the tomatoes, so you can move the lettuce around quite easily. Over here I have this box that I made, and it's got a bunch of garlic in it that's really taken off. I planted this before the winter, last October or November, and it'll be done towards the end of this summer. I planted garden beans in here a week or two ago, and they have sprouted and they're starting to take off. I like to plant some beans and see what I can get away with. They might not produce a whole lot, but at least they're adding nitrogen to the soil. Beans add nitrogen to the soil, so anytime you're planting peas and all that, it's really good for your garden. These volunteers, if you find volunteer tomatoes, you should definitely put them in some little seed cups. I even found those two little guys there. Anywhere you can jam something in to get some sunlight. The 5-gallon buckets are going to cast a lot of shadows, so I use primarily the buckets so they're all at the same level, so the shadow casting is minimal on them. You can also utilize hanging baskets in your garden. It's just unused space hanging out there on the side, and these are going to cast shadow, so I generally keep them back to the side, to the back side of the garden, so when the sun's coming in, as it is right now, comes down on the garden this way. I'm not facing directly south, but it's close enough that I can get sunlight enough to grow these plants in my line of sun here. And the baskets are back there in the back. I'd like to put a large hanging basket over here on the back side. I just haven't found one that I like at the store. And these two little buckets are just kind of gathering water here. Not a very high-tech water gathering system I have, but I am able to fill up my watering can here with it every time there's a heavy rain. And back here's my compost. My compost used to be in one of those 5-gallon buckets, but I filled it up and now it's growing a tomato. So now I just have this big pot back here for compost at the moment, and I'll turn that up and eventually plant something in that pot. So as you can see, it's possible to grow your own food, and this stuff's all going to grow pretty big, and I will be eating salad with cherry tomatoes in it, hopefully some beans, and later on I'll have my garlic. If you have any questions or comments, I'd love to hear them, and thank you again for watching. Good luck.